You're never going to win a series against a team like Immortals unless you go in confident and feeling like you're going to win.
Every single fight they take, everyone is in on that play. But I don't think they calculate those fights very well.
Immortals have turned it around!
I can see that they play better on the playoff than Spring Split.
TSM coming back strong.
But they don't really have better game knowledge than us.
I really don't think we're going to lose, so there's no reason to prepare.
I think their weakness is definitely, they're really overconfident, they're super complacent.
We saw just a lot of opportunities to take advantage of some of their weaknesses.
I'm not disrespecting anything, but we are going to win.
I actually think Immortals is going to tilt the Fu in one game. Just tilt them. Alright, easy strat.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to day 2 of the LCS Spring Semifinals. Fans have packed the Battle Arena to see their favorite teams face off to decide the second half of our final matchup. Earlier in the day, the crowd was gathered outside and getting pumped up for today's action. Of course, they're looking forward to see Immortals, who are headed to the stage for their first playoff performance. They're going up against TSM, who are playoff veterans and will be looking to head to the finals yet again as an organization. Thank you for watching with us. I'm James Dash Patterson, and joining me this afternoon on the analyst desk is special guest Loco Doco, along with mainstay Aiden Zyrene Moon. Good evening. Not good evening. What? Good evening. Good afternoon.
Hi, Dash.
Gentlemen. What's up, Loco? How are we doing today?
Pretty good considering what happened yesterday.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what happened yesterday. Yesterday, after a hard-fought 5-game series, CounterLogic Gaming emerged victorious and is the first team to lock in their spot for the spring finals match. Now, in case you missed it, here's a replay of the epic conclusion. Or to steal from Connor Murphy over on Twitter, that last TP play from CLG was amazing. Double teleporting on the same minion to get the kill on Piglet. Genius. Let's check it out.
All right, I can TP too.
I can TP back. We can TP mid, Jay. Double TP mid.
All right.
You have GA, right?
Yep. No, not yet. We can TP now. You want
All right,
to?
I'm teleporting.
All right. I don't flash.
Don't go in. Okay. He got him.
Okay, so if they channel it at exactly the same time, you can't tell, but it was a little bit delayed.
Yeah.
And he had a trap even. That's why he felt so safe. He's like, oh yeah, he'll teleport onto a trap and I'm good.
Is absolutely insane that they were able to communicate that. And you hear Smithy going, don't do it. I guess it's good. But that's what I love seeing. That was a game 5 that I'm going to remember forever, because that was a game that ended a series that was very tense. There was a lot at stake there, and it wasn't off of the blood of fools. We weren't seeing people making misplays. We weren't seeing them throwing at certain objectives. That was the blood of heroes. Piglet was making the right play by staying there. 6-item Caitlyn, you're standing there going, trap goes down, whoever comes through, I'm killing them. Right. And he stood his ground, but it ended up being a genius play from CLG that caught him off guard, and everybody looked like a hero in that set, and that's why Liquid can walk away holding their heads high into that 3rd, 4th.
Yeah, Loco, I know it may have been a tough loss, to lose a 5-game series that was that hard fought, but I want to know what your thoughts are on the series as a whole.
I mean, I'm really proud of my team. Like, no one expected us to be there. And I guess people expected us to place 4th, but this season was really, really competitive. And we had 3 rookies going into the season. And we really stepped up. And I felt like we definitely could have taken the series versus CLG. Like, if it got played again, like today or the day after, like, maybe who knows? Like, it wasn't like a stomp. And they just showed up more than us, and they were more clutch.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the fight that preceded that double TP play in which Piglet was going off. Essentially, Team Liquid had won that fight. So it just illustrates how close that 5th game was, and really that was the entire series was close.
Yeah, it was really close. And then there's a couple of things that can pick ban, and I want to talk to you about that a little bit, because like the Anivia Soraka came through and won. There was a first pick Kindred and won for your side as well. So like, coming into today, if you had actually been playing on this day, do you think you would have had a better grasp because you would have been able to see IMT versus TSM the day before?
I mean, it definitely would help, but also it would help CLG too, so maybe they would draft better. I was pretty happy with the draft in 1, 4, and 5. Not so much happy on 2 and 3. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, like, playing on the later day helps you if you don't have a good grasp on the meta, but it also helps your opponent, so it's like a double-edged sword.
Sure.
All right, well, very good to know, and we'll be curious to see how it affects the two teams that are playing today. Let's take a look at our bracket. CLG are locked into Sunday's finals match with Liquid fighting for third place on Saturday. Every victory matters, though, because championship points are on the line as teams fight for the currency that buys them a spot at Worlds. Now, Energy Esports and Cloud9 will be walking away with 10 points, and additional points will be distributed amongst the remaining teams after standings are finalized next week. Now, as we approach Las Vegas and the final showdown, we want to celebrate North America's most legendary moments in 2016, and we need your help. So for our social media question of the day, let us know your favorite moment from the 2016 NALCS Spring Split and why. Tweet your epic memories to @LolEsports, and we'll check back with some of your submissions after today's match. Now, let's get into the match at hand as first seed Immortals take on the winningest organization in NALCS history, TSM. Both of these teams made waves during the 2016 preseason with their star-studded rosters, so it's only fitting that the two super teams meet in the playoffs. Now, the pressure is on for both of these teams, but both rosters, they have a wealth of experience to calm their nerves going in.
Exactly. Very high expectations here for both teams, but something's got to give. TSM have made all 6 NALCS finals, and they want to make that 7th. Immortals, they look like an unstoppable freight train. One of these things ends today.
Yep, and leading the charge for these teams, I mean, Yellow Star and Wild Turtle, two members that have been to every LCS finals in their respective regions. So along with the theme of something's got to give, one of those players is going to lose as well. But Loco, talk to me a little bit. You have a lot of experience with a lot of these players. Talk to me about how much experience these guys have and how that can help them going through this 5-game series.
I mean, during playoffs, of course, it's a lot about skills, but as you get to later games, especially game 3, 4, and 5, it's more about mentality, how much focus you can bring it, how much pressure you're under, and how you can deal with it. Because in game 1 and 2, like, say you get ganked and you die, like, you're like, whatever, I got ganked and I died. And then going into the later games in the set, you get ganked, you fall behind, you lose a team fight, and you're thinking, oh my God, we're going to lose this. Like, oh my God, like, what are the fans are going to say after this set? Like, what are the Reddit comments going to say? Like,
right.
Things start getting in your head, and veterans, they're able to block it out and just focus and only see what's in the monitor and be in the present and not worry about what's going to happen or what I messed up on before. And for rookie players, like, that can be hard to control. But everyone here has been playing League of Legends for, like, forever. Mm-hmm. So, and they all have international experience. They've all been in playoffs before, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I believe all of them have been in playoffs before. Only 2 of them haven't been to Worlds, Hanser and Adrian, but Hanser's been to IEM and has international experience. But also, we have multiple members who made it to semifinals of Worlds and have played many international games against top teams, even some of them losing to those top teams. So right. I think that this is something that we're not seeing a lot of rookies today, any at all. So
no, not
I'm looking
at all.
for that veteran experience. I'm looking to see what happens if it does go to game 3, 4, and 5. Who's going to be able to step up and be that clutch player to make those calm plays?
Yeah, star-studded rosters across the board. Let's examine now some of the storylines around the matchups themselves. Let's start in the top lane with Huni versus Hanser. I mean, here you look at this and you say, I mean, Huni, we've touted him as being the top laner in the league, but Hanser's been a rock for TSM.
Yeah, Hanser's been a rock even though TSM ended in their lowest position ever during the regular split, and Hanser got OP5 twice, and he's the only TSM member who even made OP5 this split. He was a rock for them in the top lane, even when they were looking pretty bad during the regular season.
I mean, I think Huni's greatest strengths are how aggressively he lanes and his synergy with Rainover and his excellent use of TP. But Hanser is so well-rounded. He can play carries, he can play tanks, and the way he trades and the way he plays lane, I think in the current meta, I do think Hanser is a better top laner, but it's going to, like, even if you're the better top laner, if the other team has better jungle and top lane synergy, they can overpower you. And I think that's something that might give Huni the edge, but in pure 1v1 situation in the current meta, I do think Hanser is the better player.
Yeah, actually going to talk about both those in transition, because in the 1v1, Huni is a player, he always likes to have some sort of edge over you. They'll draft around Huni getting a superior pick top or having the superior jungle pick so they have pressure on that top side of the map. And so Huni actually goes out of his way to play things that are off meta to try and counter you, right? He's played the Cho'Gath, he's played the Echo top AP, right? So he's always looking for that edge over his opponents, and he grinds himself in solo queue and in scrims to have that edge. So he's always working to sharpen himself. And then him and Rainover, well, that was Intact synergy that came over here, and there's synergy that focused on that top lane constantly. Whereas Svenskeren, he's a little more mid-focused right now, working around Bjergsen, who actually was unlocked against that Cloud9 squad. And up against Pobelter, He's going to need that synergy to try and take that down because that's the edge that TSM has. Pobelter, you know, he got the championship over Bjergsen last time, but Bjergsen's looking for revenge today. I want to see how much he calls Sven Skaren into that mid lane to actually try and get an advantage for TSM because Bjergsen has been creating his own all season long.
And Bjergsen's played so many champions that we can't even fit them all onto the graphic, which is, you know, that's going to be a huge thing for them coming into this game, just his champion pool and his ability to perhaps counterpick Pobelter in certain matchups. But, you know, what's even more interesting about these two players is that they played for the title last summer, and here they are again playing for a chance at the title between the two of them. But, you know, it's funny, I want to go back to the jungle, and Loco, I want to get your thoughts on this because we've seen, or typically we talk about the top lane and jungle synergy for Immortals, and now we're talking about the mid lane and jungle synergy for TSM. But as I talk to players throughout the LCS, everyone talks about how Reignover can be anywhere at any moment. So from the coach's perspective, what are your thoughts on Reignover and where he stacks up against the rest of the junglers?
Reignover is really, really intelligent. Players like Dardoch and Rush, they're very, very mechanically proficient, and they like overpowering people with their mechanical prowess and just outdueling them. And I mean, I think Dardoch and Rush are both incredibly smart players, but for Reignover, that's not his main strength, not his mechanics. It's how he pressures the map, how he plays those mind games, how he communicates with the laners, and he's always in the right spot. He's also unpredictable. He just doesn't do the same thing over and over again. So like that's what makes him really, really good. That he can adapt, that he can be really smart, and yeah, like he's just a really, really good jungler.
And that's what's really scary when you play against Reignover, because he actually gets like a Reignover buff, because you sit in the game as a jungler and you go, oh, I want to gank this lane, but then you're like, wait, Reignover, he's unpredictable, I haven't seen him in a little bit, he could be here, he could be reading me. So a lot of people actually aren't as aggressive against Reignover as they should be, just because they think that he could call them out on their play and just mess up the entire game.
And also that's why one of his best champions is Rek'Sai, because with tunnels, you can literally be almost anywhere. You're on the bottom side of the map pressuring, and then you take all your tunnels, and then you end up on top side, or you can even ult there, and you're there instantly.
All right, now let's jump down to the bottom lane and close out the lane matchups, specifically Double Lift Wild Turtle. I mean, this is an interesting matchup because, again, they, in a sense, swapped. I know that Wild Turtle's not on CLG, but they're now playing against each other just on different teams yet again. But an exciting matchup every time these two guys go up against each other.
Yeah. Every time they play against each other, these are the 280 carries that it just goes back. This is the rivalry right now, back from TSM CLG. And Double Lift got the better of Wild Turtle in the finals last time. So right now, in the semifinals, Wild Turtle, he wants to knock out Double Lift and not give Double Lift that opportunity to play his former bottom lane in the finals.
Yeah, we had a comparison graphic a few weeks ago in the LCS that actually, when we took Double Lift and Wild Turtle on their current rosters, though, their statistics were actually relatively similar. So it was interesting to see both of them performing at a very high level, considering that TSM had a significantly worse record at the time in the regular season.
I think Turtle was a biggest benefactor being on Immortals because he had insane teammates. Adrian, very, very good support, excellent on PL Champions. And Reignover and Huni, they make so much pressure for their bot lane. Sometimes I feel like Immortals bot lane, all they have to do is breathe.
Just keep breathing.
Just breathe. Just breathe.
For the love of God. Okay, I like it. No, that's a fair assessment. I mean, you're the benefactor of...
Should I call my breathing, Dash?
Yeah, beneficiary of being on a very solid team. I mean, across the board, we look at Immortals, and I mean, there's a reason why 4 of their members were first team NALCS, with only Jensen making that first team, and it's because they're all very solid players.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that Immortals are able to execute on and that they practice is they push themselves to the limit even when they're just practicing. They get themselves to that edge where they're almost going to fail, and they try to recover from it over and over again. So we've seen almost every player on this squad, and I would actually say every player on this squad, step up and have a clutch moment, whether it's Adrian, Janna ulting, whether it's Wild Turtle diving in and getting a whole bunch of kills. Everybody can step up, and that's what makes them so scary, because you wonder where we're going to focus, and you have to have a solid game plan, and you have to be able to adapt mid-game to what happens.
And whereas Immortals had a near-perfect regular season, TSM have an opportunity today to leave their tumultuous season behind. But first, they'll have to beat Immortals. Double Lift and Bjergsen say they have what it takes to get it done.
People always say that either I'm washed up or my personality just like won't work with another selfish player, quote unquote.
I think for the two of us, it's the comments like, their egos are too big, they can't fit in a team together, they can't work with their teammates, they want all the farm, they want all the kills, and like, just that we're impossible personalities to work with.
But honestly, like, every pro player just wants to win, especially the ones at the top, the ones who are consistently good. All they care about is winning, so you'll do whatever it takes to win.
You know, we're both willing to give up and let another person carry.
Roles change up, you know. New rosters means new responsibilities. And that was our big struggle was just like team play and like who on the team is supposed to do what.
Too many struggles. Too many, dude.
All of the names of our Legends episodes.
Struggles.
Hardship.
Tough split.
Yeah. We were just kind of bad. And then on week 10 when we lost to Energy, it kind of reached the critical mass of like, holy shit, we are so bad that we need to change everything about our team.
We threw that game so hard, and then it was like, throughout the whole season, we were like, maybe we'll get good, maybe it's gonna click soon, but then it was like, oh, no, it's too weak for playoffs, and we're still really bad. And we reviewed the game, and it just felt like everyone was kind of coming together and was like, we need to step it up right now, or we're just done. If we lose to C9, this split is done, and we've achieved nothing.
Coming back strong, 3 consistent games in a row. Team SoloMid take the quarterfinal match against Cloud9.
I think a lot of the playoff buff kind of comes down to, you know, the pressure from the public, everyone feeling like TSM has to perform.
Dude, you brought TSM for like 3 years. I was on CLG. We have playoffs nerf.
Also, Reggie helping out the team a lot in terms of just mentality, hard work. I think we put a lot of focus in really figuring out how our communication should work and really what everyone's role is in the team.
It only really clicked in the last 2 weeks, so pretty happy about it.
Immortals feels like they were dominating super hard early in the split, and then in the last couple weeks, their games have been a bit closer. They've been really close to losing a few games. They lost a game against CLG, and when we rewatched our game against them, we saw just a lot of opportunities to take advantage of some of their weaknesses.
I actually think Immortals is going to tilt the Fu in one game. They have no... I have full confidence they have no idea what to do if they lose one game on the set.
So just tilt them?
Just tilt them. Alright. Easy strat. It's just hard work. I don't think any of us are like superhumans or anything. We just put in the work, talk about it a lot, sleep less, play more.
We're already practicing for MSI.
Holy shit. Come on, no more dank names.
Well, Doublelift thinks he has the strategy to beat Immortals. It's just tilt them. Beat them one game and tilt
You
them.
have to beat him once, though.
Yeah, exactly. You got to beat him the first game. So we need to have that strategy locked in. Anyway, we reviewed all the evidence. Now it's time to turn to you two and get your predictions for this series. So starting with you, Zyrene, who's going to the finals?
I think TSM are going to be stronger than people think. I think that TSM is going to be able to show up, but I brought my gym bag to the studio, man. I'm going to the gym at 4 o'clock. It's going to be a 3-0 Immortals.
Really?
I think they're going to be very powerful. I think they're going to come out of the gate with new things, and they're going to be able to overpower TSM.
All right, a very strong endorsement for Zyrene. Plus, he's going to get his workout in today. I'm proud of you for that. Now, Loco, for you, who's going to take it?
I also do think Immortals will win, but I don't think it'll be a 3-0.
Okay.
I think TSM has what it takes to make it at least a 3-1, even a 3-2. TSM is going to be really, really clutch in playoffs, and they know how to deal with the pressure and put it into the game and actually show up. And for Immortals, I know Doublelift was memeing when he said just tilt them, but if they do lose a game, like especially for someone like Turtle playing versus his old team in like a really, really high pressure match, like that could definitely affect them.
Yeah, mentality always a factor.
Yeah.
All right, well, there we have it. Both analysts here thinking that Immortals is going to walk away with the victory. It's time now to find out. Let's hand it off to our casters to get the series underway.
Thank you very much, Dash. Oh, it is good to be here. Good afternoon, everybody, memers and dreamers alike. I'm David Freak-Turley. We've got Isaac Gazelle, Cummings-Bentley, and Joshua Jat-Leesman here to cover a very awesome semifinal series. You guys ready for some awesome matches?
I am very ready for this matchup. There's a lot of players in this matchup who have been to finals a ton of times, so only one team can go.
There's like aggregate 23 finals appearances across both rosters, something ridiculous like that.
Exactly that number.
You did the math. I looked over your shoulder and got it, so you get the credit for that one.
I mean, this matchup is insane. There's more storylines than in a library. I mean, this place is nuts, dude. So, like, I am so excited for this. No matter what happens, it's like super meaningful historically for LCS, so really excited.
It's going to be sweet. We'll see who it's going to be as we get ourselves into the game. We've already covered the matchup at length. We're going to get into the starting lineups. On the blue side for games 1, 3, and 5 is Immortals. Hooning in the top lane, Rainover in the jungle. Mid laner, Poe Belter, AD carry, Wild Turtle against his old team. Adrian on support with Coach Dylan, who's been there all year long, making sure this team is in tip-top shape.
Yeah, absolutely a lot of star power on that Immortals lineup, but also a lot of star power over on the red side where we have TSM, which is Hotzer in the top lane, Sven Skaren in the jungle, Bjergsen in the mid lane, double as the AD carry with Yellow Star the support, and Parth is the coach calling the picks and bans, although it is a large staff for both of these teams behind the stage, with obviously Dylan and Parth being on the stage for picks and bans.
Yeah, and so coming into this one, it's interesting because I want to see what these teams have chosen to do. We looked at CLG as a team that was, had one very specific style throughout the regular season, and it was Darshan who said, well, we think that was the best style, but as buffs and nerfs came through, the best champions were, once again, Echo and Maokai and these top lane tanks, and so the CLG style changed. Immortals, and Huni by extension, has always been sort of this, I'm going to play hard carries in the top lane as well. I want to see if he goes the way of Darshan, where he just plays Maokai as well, or if he's going to remain the Huni hard carry, I'll play Quinn half the time sort of type of player.
Yeah.
That interests me a lot.
And I mean, Huni is a guy, everyone's talking about Tank Echo. Huni played AP Echo, full AP Echo, and the buffs did help full AP Echo as well. So it's definitely something we could see him bust out. He played Quinn, he's played Graves. He has a lot of champions that this guy could go to.
He has a lot of creative counter picks as well, like when he played Cho'Gath into Ryze in the top lane.
Yeah.
When he would play Quinn into Poppy when Poppy was crazy. So, and these things could still technically exist if he wants to play them in the top lane. Also, Immortals has said that they are a very diverse champ select team. They just didn't have to change. Remember, this is the most dominant regular season team in the history of the North American LCS that we're dealing with here. So, really strong chance coming into this one. We'll see what they change for the patch, though.
Yeah, TSM on the other side, talking about champ diversity, Bjergsen's champions couldn't fit on one page. I mean, this guy can play everything. So definitely, something that they're going to have to watch out for. So far, Soraka, Nidalee, Azir, Kindred, Poppy, all taken away. Pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, honestly, very typical bans from the blue side here. It's funny because Azir is so popular, it's now a blue side ban instead of a red side ban because counter picks are a thing in the mid lane compared to things in the jungle where you typically see red side Nidalee bans. Yeah. So just kind of fun watching sort of the ban metagame come out. Everyone learned counter picks, so now you can't let red side play the champion.
Exactly, and Bjergsen also displayed Vel'Koz as his counter pick for the Azir, and it's just not a game that Immortals seems like they want to play. Target banning coming in a little bit, even though Ryze is generically strong, but now first pick Corki, and that can go mid or bottom lane that we've seen.
That'll be interesting to watch out for. Yeah, so Corki actually becoming the first pick worthy champion. It was funny because last series it boiled down to Echo being the mandatory top laner here, and both Liquid and CLG realized that was the important one. I always love when a best of 5 comes out because you have a series meta where I don't know if Corki's going to be first picked ever again because something else will be understood as powerful and worth grabbing out here, but it's Immortals' first glance of what they think is the most important champion here.
Exactly, and we've seen Echo fall through the ban phase, right? It actually feels like every playoff series we've watched has followed the same trend, where in game 1, no one really cares that much about Echo. He falls down, and then he crushes. In game 2, it's first pick, and then by the time the final game comes around, unless you're in the G2 Fnatic series, it's banned, right? And no one can play it.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that happens in this series, or if teams just opt out of the Echo tank top.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the themes of this season has really been just flex picks, right? Guys like Corki, Trundle who can go multiple lanes, Graves who can go multiple lanes, all these champions that are super strong and super flexible, so you can't get counterpicked as easily.
And speaking of flexible, we have 3 marksmen coming in right now. Graves has seen play in jungle, top, and in mid lane. Corki on the other side has seen play in the mid lane and the AD carry spot. But the Kalista, unless you're talking about Huni's solo queue account, only gets seen in the bottom lane with the support.
Very true, yeah. Pretty dependent on having a teammate around, but now Immortals actually grabbing up Karma, which has been heavily contested before, actually. It was Liquid who played it a whole lot in yesterday's series, when we've actually seen Adrian play it as well with the Shield Max build. So Lucian plus the Karma grabbed up here, and so that actually just tells you 3 of the lanes: Corki, mid, Lucian, AD carry, Karma support, with jungle and top still in the wind.
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely Karma has a lot of strengths, especially with the double AD carry comps, kind of be that Lulu replacement. Does give you some engage, a lot of poke in lane, whether it's going support or mid. It's definitely pretty strong. I mean, we saw the power of that mid lane Karma as well yesterday, the Wombo combo that we had, TL set up, the Bard ult into the Echo stun and then the launcher Q. You definitely have a lot of burst, especially mid game.
Definitely could be scary stuff here. So the AoE shielding could be a really big deal if TSM gets in. 4 marksmen so far in the game. Braum, both great with and against that kind of champion, and actually the Lulu as well. So yeah, why grab Karma when you can grab the original OG, buff the marksman. Lulu in there in the mid lane here for Bjergsen. Could also be a top laner for Hanser, I suppose, depending on where the Graves goes. It could obviously a Braum support for Yellow Star.
Bjergsen's Lulu's actually been really solid throughout his whole career, even though you think of him as a carry player. His CS is always top of the class right there. And we said we knew where the Immortals lanes were going to be going. But this means we either have a Corki or a Lucian top lane. Top lane Lucian is a thing that Huni has played around with, much like top lane Kalista. But if you see Corki in the mid lane, maybe you see Corki in the top lane as well. That's cool.
That is cool.
That is something we have not seen in the LCS, but it is definitely something that Immortals have been practicing with.
And I mean, this is interesting. TSM, they're leaving their top laner for last, theoretically. So we'll see.
The thing is, it could play against Karma, Lucian, or Corki.
Yeah,
sure.
There's very few ways. Well, no, Karma's got to be support. Sorry, but
to be fair, I mean, Echo is probably pretty solid against almost.
It's got to be Corki mid and Lucian top if I was trying to make the most educated.
That'd be my guess too. And it's going to be Maokai up there in the top lane. So Lucian actually, physical damage heavy champion compared to someone like Corki. So Maokai's MR per level buff not going to be a huge deal in this one. But just, the Echo actually going through picks and bans entirely. Immortals running a triple marksman in all 3 carry lanes composition here. TSM with 2 themselves and Lulu to buff it up. This is going to be interesting.
I mean, they could do Jhin mid if they wanted to.
They may also just be waiting to swap it around in case.
They have until 20 seconds.
To make it harder to select your runes and things like that. So we'll see if they do end up swapping that. I'm expecting them to. I definitely think it's going to be Corki mid, Lucian top. Wild Turtle does play mean Jhin, so we'll
have until 20 seconds. Yep.
There it goes.
That's the final swap.
Swap through. All right, so you were right about as far as where the champions are going on the lineup. Meanwhile, it's Graves jungle, Lulu mid, Kalista AD carry. No big surprises on the TSM side of things, and so we are coming into the first game of the series.
I mean, this is actually what we're hoping for. I had heard whispers of Huni's AD carry top lane from practice, and apparently practice went well with that strategy. So they early pick an AD, and they just swap like absolute crazy. So there's really no way you can counterpick those lanes. Pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. So we're going to see how well it works out here in game 1 of the best of 5. A trip to the finals is on the line. So tweet at LOL Esports with hashtag IMT win or hashtag TSM win for which one it's going to be here in the first game of the series. We are here in Los Angeles to find out who is going to be Counter Logic Gaming's opponent in Las Vegas in the finals. The crowd is here, ready to cheer on their favorite squad. Here we go, game 1 of the semifinals.
Yeah, and Lucian has been played in the LCS. Cabochard played it in week 4 of the European LCS. But this is definitely triple marksman without a marksman in the jungle, which is a little bit insane. And when Huni came over into North America, one of the rumors that he was kind of trolling about is like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to NA and play AD carry.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he wasn't.
He wasn't trolling. It was just the long con.
This is actually like his 4th marksman game of the split at least. He's got a lot of Quinn games in there and probably a Graves in there somewhere as well. So.
One thing I will say is the Immortals comp, if this is something where you fall behind, it's probably going to be pretty brutal against the Maokai, against the Braum. They have to get leads, I feel. And Maokai has such strong gank assist that it's going to be really scary for Huni. I mean, if he does get caught by Svenskeren and the Hanser, it's going to be really tough.
Definitely a concern, so we'll see how well Svenskeren and Hanser can do up in that top side of the map. Traditionally and statistically, Huni's been a much, much better top laner. Some of that can be attributed to Reignover, some of it just to Huni being that good of a player, but this may be a very important matchup for TSM to overcome.
Exactly. If we look at the regular season stats as far as the CS difference at 10 minutes for these guys, Huni had best in the league in top lane at 13, Reignover had best in the jungle at 7, but then TSM had best in the mid lane and in the bottom lane position with 8.6 for both Bjergsen and Doublelift. So really, it dictates the style of the teams. Immortals is entirely a top lane focused, top lane priority team, whereas TSM has actually been able to build some advantages for both their mid lane and their bottom lane. It hasn't transitioned quite as well for TSM as it has for Immortals.
Yeah, and I mean, it turns out for Huni, if your lane opponent is dead, you get ahead in farm. So
funny how that works.
Yeah. Ooh, close.
Yeah, decent amount of harass from Yellow Star, but Reignover's still going to be able to get the solo experience for that big Raptor. Bit of a difference there, though, is the fact that Yellow Star was able to get the harass off, whereas Adrian did not harass the TSM jungle.
Yeah, they did Gromp, though. It was a It was a Gromp start for Jin plus Karma, so a little bit of extra golden experience gained by Immortals overall. You can see, well, gold is basically the same as a result anyway because of how fast Karma is going through. Svenskeren able to grab most of this top jungle entirely, so yeah, that's Krug's red buff and Raptors all taken up. The non-harass from Adrian definitely showing off there. You saw a nice trade in the mid lane, Pobelter versus Bjergsen. They met in the finals last time, and Pobelter 3-0'd him when that was the case, but this time around different squads surrounding these players. And we'll see if Bjergsen can turn this one around.
So Warlord's Bloodlust, the choice for Huni, makes a lot of sense. And I'll be interested to see if he's going to build it similar to the top Graves, if he's going to do things like, you know, Death Dance, Maw, Sterix, this kind of full tanky build, because I can't really imagine it being the more traditional, you know, like Shiv, IE, etc.
Right.
Yeah, it would make it so easy for Haunter to just get a Warden's Mail
and just
either an
1v1
Iceborne or a Frozen Heart and just 1v1 him super easily, unless he did some type of lifesteal sustain build.
Warlords will help with that a little bit, but yeah, from my experience playing against other top laners with a champion like Lucian, you don't typically win a lot of the early matchups. Of course, we're in a situation where Huni's going to knock down this top turret without too much trouble, of course. The double marksman, he joined up with Wild Turtle not long ago, and that turret's going to be going down. TSM, of course, did the same in the bot side, so equal trade here. The fight, oh! Rain over the early smite, Svenskeren gets the better of him.
And really, how many times have we seen Reignover getting counter jungled this year without killing the other guy for coming into his jungle? This one was a little bit weird though, because Svenskeren technically still had control of that side of the map, the way they split the lanes. So it was greedy for Reignover to come down for that red buff, and then Svenskeren just gets the smite timing, and that's a pretty big swing point.
Yeah, pretty nice early advantage actually for Svenskeren, bullying him off, you know, getting both the red buffs. So, you know, red buff is actually a really big deal if you're looking to go for any early ganks, and Gragas is one of the strongest at doing that. You know, someone with the body slam flash available.
Well, Haunter's actually in a lot of trouble here. Karma's around the backside as well.
Okay. Mantra Q in now for the W hit. Exhaust is on as well. Adrian only has the shield, so he doesn't have a root right there, but Reignover can go in for the body slam. Fair bit of damage, and first blood's gonna come through. Haunter lost flash, still went down. 600 gold to Immortals.
Yeah, we talked about how the lanes were being split before that, but Svenskeren was gone. The lanes were no longer split, so Haunter was up too far and getting a little bit greedy for that farm. One thing that's a little bit peculiar about that is the fact that Huni teleported down entirely. He would have been left alone in a potential 1v2 or 1v3 and wanted to avoid the same fate as Haunter. Now, they really need to push that bottom lane quickly to make it so that teleport isn't gone to waste.
Yeah, and I would have actually expected Adrian to maybe allow Huni or someone else to pick up that kill, because it was pretty guaranteed with the flash already being gone.
Yeah,
and
flash damage guaranteed.
Yeah.
I thought for sure once Huni teleported in and they'd get the on him, they're just going to wait for him to walk up, guarantee their top priority, and give him a kill over his opponent. But you're right, that was a little bit odd.
Well, plenty of extra gold then on Adrian. We'll see how much he can do with that one. Always feels good to have a Spell Thieves and be in a sort of double lane swap where you're constantly getting the 8 gold per hit on that extra turret. And Adrian is going to be a very rich Karma, and she's certainly a champion that can use gold quite well. Good AP scaling on her. At least it's not the worst.
If you talk about bloodthirsty supports, you can make an argument for even giving early CS to a support, because if they can max out their gold generation item first, technically that's more gold for the team over the long term.
Yeah.
That's just not the way it typically works in pro play, because getting your 80 carries late to their big item thresholds is more important than the support having more overall team gold. But there is an argument for it, for all the supports that like taking CS and kills.
Well, there is an argument, but it's going to kind of peter out in terms of, well, he's got boots. That was the difference in upgrades here. Both supports going to get Sight Stone. They're going to get some pink wards and whatnot. Adrian actually going for the casual refillable potion, so we don't have to spend any money on potions anymore.
Yeah, and refillable potion is something that's actually coming a lot more into popularity. You can see Bjergsen's even picked one up in the mid lane. So there's already 3 in the game, 4 actually. Both junglers have it, mid laner has it, and a support now. So people are more and more prioritizing this, because it allows you to have that extra combat regen, the combat stats for the all-in fights without ever having to spend any more gold on bots.
Yep, and if you sell at the end of the day, you ended up losing a total of 90 gold. It's worth roughly 2 potions on its own, just in terms of the regen. And then at the end of the day, you're down 90 gold for selling at the very end. So it's definitely really efficient, something I've been liking for a while. And these players playing a very gold-efficient game. Bjergsen adding a Frostfang himself, continuing that trend as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Bjergsen's going to be going with the Frost Queen's claim to Lichbane build on Lulu. Last time I saw Lulu, it's the same build that Faker does when he plays Lulu recently. Although I'm also a little curious to see if he gets the death cap second, just because he's against so much raw damage from the 80 carries. He's going to need those immediate shields to kind of power up Doublelift and Svenskeren to then blow up those 80 carries.
Definitely true. We'll have to see how well those marksmen can do for himself right now, though. Double actually getting the better of all these trades, plus 16 minions over Wild Turtle, whereas the rest of the map is trading pretty much equally. So I gotta give props to TSM for finding more farm overall. Despite the 600 gold worth first blood, it's a 200 gold difference here in this game. And TSM now also going for their first draft.
Yeah, definitely very close. Wild Turtle going to pick up a call, which, over time will make up some of that difference in farm. So, going to pay to be a little bit more greedy there.
We're always kind of wondering where these games are going to break. We mentioned that Immortals has that huge top lane and jungle focus as Huni and Reignover just kind of stomp all over the NALCS.
Right.
But a breaking point for this matchup would be if Svenskeren and Hanser can hold their own. We know Svenskeren held his own and then some against Rush, who was the MVP of the 2015 Summer Split. Reignover, now the MVP of the Spring, is actually getting paced by Svenskeren a little bit early.
He's getting pushed around, and it's partially the choice that his team's mates are making here. You talk about holding. Well, you had Huni trying to hold this bot lane as a freeze, and it means that Double and Yells have to run down to shove the wave back into the turret and try to deny some of the farm, but TSM had to break this freeze. They had bot control because of it. And yeah, Huni's going to have to miss some because of it.
And as we did talk about earlier, Huni is building towards Death's Dance, so it is going to be that first. Makes a lot of sense, and the more you think about it, the more it does make sense. And Huni going to be a little bit caught out here, but going to be able to easily walk away.
Then we also see situations like this where if he was a tank, a level 5 or 6 Maokai or Poppy, he could have stayed there for the CS because support and AD carry at level 4 apiece wouldn't have been enough to threaten him off. But because he's a little pickaxe, Vamp Scepter, Baby Lucian under the turret right now, he had to back away.
Yeah.
So later in the game, I think it'll make a lot of sense, and I think you'll get some split push priority if he can keep his farm up. But Immortals does have to change their play style around it to accommodate for such a peculiar top lane choice.
For right now, they're getting punished. This is the second red buff in a row. Svenskeren's taken out of that bottom jungle right here. And I think coming into this series, before you ever watch TSM play a playoff, how many would have been like, oh yeah, Svenskeren's going to counter jungle the crap out of Reignover and take 2 red buffs from him? Turns out this has kind of been the case right here, and it's really impressive how much TSM has improved, and from an individual level as well as the shot calling of, yes, pressure the bot side. Huni is alone, no one can help him out here, and very smart choices so far by TSM.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see when Immortals actually decides to kind of pull the trigger, start grouping, and start taking turrets, because I really do feel like they don't want to play a patient game, right? TSM is going to be happy to sit back with Lulu, with Maokai, with the Kalista Braum and just scale up, right? This is a team that should be monstrous in the late game team fights, and I think Immortals, if they let Maokai get too strong, is going to really have trouble punching through that front line with Lulu supporting him.
Definitely could be a real big concern. We'll see how much he can get done then as the players scale up. Exactly how much crit is on these champions is usually what I look at for who's going to win really late game team fights. Yeah, crit's really relevant. It's the way you kill these super big tanks in the super late game, and if we get there, we'll see what happens. Push into the bot lane right now by Immortals, culling right onto the big shield of Yellow Stars. He withstands quite a bit here. The wave clear coming out from Hanser as well as Svenskeren, and the turret won't take any more than half his health.
I mean, this is one of the most threatening things about having a triple marksman composition is you have 3 guys who are highly threatening to a turret, and unless TSM has really great wave clear right on the turret, they're going to lose a whole bunch of its health right there. But I do feel like Immortals, as far as what you're talking about, Azale, is when they turn it on, I think they need to hit their item power spikes. That means Death Dance, that means Trinity Force, and that means probably S tier for Wild Turtle before they can really start to even think about doing stuff.
Right now, the raw AD was at least enough. The thankful thing for these Immortals AD carries is that they're actually all somewhat spellcasters. It's not like you're playing like a Caitlyn or a Jinx where really all you're doing is auto-attacking. So at the very least, these guys have reasonably strong level 9 power spikes, right? Rank 1 ulti is actually pretty good for all 3 of those champions, etc. So Immortals looked for that bot lane play, got some damage, had to force back, but either way, the game is still pretty close, 600 apart. Immortals have equalized that farm score that TSM was winning in earlier.
Yeah, it's something we were talking about yesterday, Freak, was how frequent it is that people are going Hurricane first now on Kalista. It looks like Doublelift is actually building towards the Bork, so it'll be interesting to see why exactly he felt that he had to do that.
Yeah, I don't have a complete handle on what's best. In fact, I'll see some people actually do Vamp Scepter into Hurricane anyway, and he'll just have that so he doesn't get poked down anymore by a Corki and a Jhin. So we actually still may see him go Hurricane. In my mind, just Hurricane has been tried a lot by a lot of pros, and it just gives you better wave clear. It lets you get out of your lane faster. When you have to start rotating around constantly in top level play, that item's worthwhile.
I think wave clear is going to be super important in this matchup when they're up against 3 marksmen, but I could also see needing the lifesteal early because they have a Lulu on their team. A lot of times it's really important to value lifesteal when you have a super shielder like a Lulu, just so you can sustain up with the shield from the Lulu and stay in fights.
For sure.
With the value of the shields.
Yeah, and I mean, not to mention the poke. You have Karma, Jin, Corki, all going to be throwing out a lot of poke, not to mention culling from Lucian. So it's definitely a team where you can get bullied out under the turret. You want to be able to sustain and defend those turrets early on.
It's worth pointing out everyone on Immortals has some decent level of poke. Like even Gragas has at least the long-range barrels, but Karma, one of the more obnoxious poke supports if she gets enough points in the queue. So definitely something to consider. And as the Zeal gets picked up for Doublef, it is in fact vamped up her into Hurricane. So yeah, that's a build that we'd seen at the very beginning when people were playing Kalista back in whenever she got released in 2014 or something. And
that was like the first build Sneaky found that really kind of started.
Vamp Hurricane was my favorite first build too.
Then he completed his Blade of the Ruin King afterwards.
Yeah,
and it was just a difference of the build path. I do kind of want to point out with Immortals team composition, though, as they're playing one of the slowest early games we've seen them play all year, is that their initiation is more reliant on Rainover than usual.
True.
Yes, Wild Turtle can set up some slows with Jin, but aside from that, like if Rainover either gets shut down or has a bad team fight, everything can fall apart because 3 marksmen can get punished very quickly by a good Maokai or Lulu initiative.
Oh man, a good flank will absolutely wreck Immortals. It's going to be really scary. It's 4 squishies. There we go. The root does land on a Yellow Star. One strength they do have is the really good poke power. A Karma Q into a Jin root is almost guaranteed because of the slow that comes out from Karma. So some offensive tools, but it only means some poke. Once again, turret takes damage and back they go. But yeah, it's Immortals grouping on their first item spike, right? Most of Triforce and Sork Shoes. Death Stance is done. Enough attack damage to land some spells, and Immortals push with that raw AD.
Yeah, I kind of like the whole thing over here where we see Rainover is actually going challenging smite. We talked yesterday about that with Kiwi Kid, and Kiwi Kid was saying, no, you don't need the vision, you just need to be able to fight them. It doesn't matter if you can see them.
Oh, speaking of fighting them, in comes the Braum, knock up the flash in from Maokai, and he's going to find the Corki. It's Pomo, they're taking some damage, but staying alive for now. Wild Growth onto the tree. Looks like plenty of chlorophyll keeping him alive for this one, but now TSM once again kiting back. Plenty of damage is there, it can be scary. Curtain Call comes in, one hit on a double lift, one more shot left, and ooh. 3 out of 4, not bad from Turtle.
Yeah, he gets poked, but he also hit the guy with full health, so has never had any real kill pressure, and Doublelift has already gone that Bam Scepter build, so he would have been able to sustain it up if he goes through. We said that they were grouping early, but they actually didn't have their power spikes yet, so I'm not entirely sure what Immortals was hoping to get accomplished there. The instant TSM went for the initiation, Immortals just backed off. At least they burned the teleport on Hanser and didn't suffer any casualties, but I still don't actually think Immortals was strong enough to be forcing such a play.
But, you know, in the end, I think they actually got more. You know, we see both summoners down from Yellow Star, the Flash, and the TP down from Hunter as well. So, you know, they did have to put out quite a lot. You know, double lift healed. So a lot of summoners used there. They did really try to force that. They weren't quite able to. As Hunter was kind of a little bit slow on the W in, and that pulled him into turret range. He took a couple shots and he had to kind of back out.
Yeah, we got to see a preview of how well Immortals can disengage, for sure, because that was a pretty hard attempted initiation. Yellow Star got Fates called in. Hanser, I think he may have actually flashed for his Twisted Advance, and they weren't even able to close someone out, even when Immortals didn't have their item breakpoints yet.
I also really like, you know, I was kind of thinking to myself, how are they going to use the curtain call, right? The curtain call is kind of the re-engage. You kite back, you poke them out as you're going, and then when TSM's like, oh, we don't want this anymore, curtain.
Too bad, yeah, you're getting slowed. Yeah, really impressive stuff, so we'll see how well they can play that one. Nice poke out from the Karma, and it means that Dragon #1 does go over to Immortals. TSM had tried to sneak it, but Immortals spotted it out, got ran over to that side of the map, and 1-1 on that score.
We still have the teleport advantage off of this fight because Hanser is using it on the side, so we can see here the attempt initiation from TSM. Yellowstar doesn't connect with the Kalista ultimate, and then Hanser gets pulled into the turret, so immediately TSM has to back away. And you know, TSM talks about everyone committing to the same call, but then Svenskeren was in really late to that fight, whereas Immortals definitely felt like they had a cohesive plan throughout, and you could see every player reacting in exactly the same way at every stage of the fight.
I think there might have also been a miscommunication between Doublelift and Yellow Star. I'm not sure if I saw it right, but it felt like Yellow Star was going in ready to start up a Q combo and got Fates called right as he tried to all-in somebody and lost the ability to actually combo somebody out and sort of get an initial pick. I'd have to see it again to be sure, but it felt like that was slightly disjointed. Either way, Immortals, though, carrying on from that first blood earlier on in the game and sitting on a nice, that sort of same comfortable 700 gold lead they've had for most of this game. Equalizing the Dragon is nice, and it's otherwise just been sort of a check of who can punch harder and who can block, and it's been equal.
Yeah, and I mean, it is important to remember in that fight as well, you know, Hanser hadn't even completed his Sunfire Cape yet. He's not that tanky at this point, right?
Sure.
And he definitely is going to need some time to scale up that. I really would like to see him build a Frozen Heart this game instead of just the Iceborne Gauntlet.
I'm pretty sure he's doing that.
I'm assuming that's what it's going to be, but I mean, you know, it's so common. You see it so much that I'm just like, come on, man. There's 380 carries.
Reduction is way too valuable here. Like, Iceborne Gauntlet is a crazy efficient item, and it's amazing for dueling people, but Frozen Heart
is literally the best item in the game.
Multiplied gold value here.
Yeah, and actually I think he will go for that one. I remember we had a sound up of TSM versus C9 from last week's game, and Bjergsen was like, hey, Hanser, I just want you to know, don't go right of age this game. You need to stack armor. Like, he's like telling him the item builds are really important in champ select. So I imagine there's been enough sort of crosstalk here that he'll go for the right build. We'll see as that moves on. Once again, Immortals have grouped up. This time they do have the completed Triforce. They do have the completed Essence Reaper.
Yeah, they have all the little AD carry item spikes they want here, and this is absolutely Immortals' game plan, is to siege up with 3 marksmen and either get the turret and poke or force TSM to engage and then win the ensuing fight. The turret's very low, so either TSM has to engage right away or they're going to forfeit the turret.
Really Culling puts plenty of damage onto the Maokai. Hanser down to half HP here in this one. Again, more poke back and forth with Corki. Certainly annoying, but Bjergsen and Co have landed enough damage to get Pobelter back down to half HP, and Immortals may just lick their wounds and leave.
Yeah, and I mean, especially with flashes coming back up for Hanser and Yellowstar, you know, Immortals is going to have that time. They're going to know that the engage potential is there, and they want to play it safe. You know, something I also would love to see on the Maokai is, you know, maybe an early Ninja Tabbies get Distortion, because I feel like it's going to be so key for him to be able to get those TPs in from behind. The flash engages, he needs to get in and get in right away. He can't take too much damage on the entry, and Tabbies are also going to be ridiculously efficient against the triple AD carry team.
All right, triple auto attackers. Ninja Tabby, while giving armor, still blocks auto attack damage. It would stop some Corki hits, and he's going to land the knockup right onto Wild Turtle. Exhaust use early on a double lift, and actually, he's able to disengage properly, will not get stunned at all. Curtain call is in, and here comes the teams. Hanser into the front line, only finds a minion though. He's going to take some poke and walk back out. Welter at 1/3 will survive. 0 kills in this game, and it's constantly an attempt to take a fight, but the opponents always react in time.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of summoners were burned in that fight. If you look over to TSM, I'm counting 6.
5 for Immortals.
And 5 for Immortals, so that's a slight win for Immortals as Huni continues to build up that what looks like is going to be the Death Dance Phantom Dancer build, which is identical to his early Graves build, actually.
It's exactly their correct Graves build.
The same items, do Bruiser 80 carry. He's not going to be getting the armor magic resist the Graves does. It's definitely going to be a little bit different of a choice. Either way, it feels like Immortals is very content just scaling up for the later siege here.
Yeah.
Which could be a little bit worrying if Hanser is able to get to a Frozen Heart.
Yeah, it looks like Hanser is actually taking a little bit of a side route with the Ruby Crystal, so maybe wanting to just pick up a Cal. You know, Cal is ridiculously efficient. For Corki, Karma, you know, Gragas putting on some magic damage as well, so definitely worthwhile, and just the HP regen proc on it is really, really solid. So, you know, if he is in the side lanes, it's going to be nice.
Yeah. We think we'll probably see Randwoods in his build later on as well. All 3 marksmen on Immortals will be crit users. Yeah, they're actually crit users. That's actually a pretty important thing. There's a push in on towards Pobelter. Will not take the damage. And right over!
Oh my god, he got right in front of that. Oh my god. He was able to block the Graves ult, body slams in front, and then ults him into the turret. Fantastic from Rainover.
Yeah, that was... We said the team composition is going to be reliant on Rainover. That's normally for engaging fights, but this one was in defense of Pobelter, and he still pulls it off. Doesn't even have to expend his flash on the Gragas, and Pobelter gets bailed out of a tricky situation, and Immortals gets their second kill of the game.
2-0 up towards the top lane they go. Top lane wave already under control, in fact, and it's a 5v4 with no Svenskeren around. Triple Marksman doing plenty of damage here, poking on a Hanser as well. We're seeing pretty much immediate use of these ultimates. They're trying to poke champions down. Hanser has to get bailed out by Yellowstar, who will keep walking in front of those bullets. And the curtain will just continue to hit Braum, but that means top lane tier 2 is gone.
Yeah, this is the types of situations where Immortals really shines. They get 1 kill, and because of the triple marksman, they can rotate up, and they have such good wave clear, and then they can kill the turret incredibly quickly. Just like that, 3,500 gold.
Yeah, so here we go. And I mean, Pobelter looking like he's really going to get caught out here. But Rainover actually able to get in. He blocks the ult, Svenskeren into the turret. Just perfect play, defensive and offensively, and just so good. But, you know, for the top turret, I was kind of surprised to see Bjergsen actually facing at that time. Yes, he had a completed item, but had he been there with the wave clear and protection on Maokai, I felt like they actually maybe could have held that, so.
Oh, speaking of holding that one, unfortunately, Explosive Cast goes not far enough, thanks to good play by Yellowstar, but the re-engage comes in and a knockup on Svenskeren, and the kill coming through. Now, is there any more chase left for Immortals? Little Ant says no, but yet another kill picked up for Immortals as trade for their turret going down, and now they look at Baron.
I think you're absolutely right about Bjergsen not wanting to base there, and then again you see the split position of TSM. There's a Maokai in the bottom lane without teleport as they get engaged on in the mid lane. This is a Baron force straight up for Immortals. Rainover does not have flash, but that Baron's getting low pretty quickly.
There's a lot of damage available though. AoE shield comes in, the Inspire is in, and here comes the chance for a team fight. TSM can turn the game on this one. Spike comes through, grabbed by Immortals. Still, it's a 5v4. In comes the battle. Yellowstar's dead, now so is Double Lift. A kill in for Hootie. Hanser now joins the fray to help things things out, but he does not have a jungler coming around just yet. Bjergsen trying to kite away. Hanser will drop down, and so will the last teammate. That's 5 kills in a row now for Immortals, plus the Baron. A clean sweep.
An absolute tragedy for TSM. They had to try something. They didn't want to give up the early Baron, but I mean, they're not able to take out Rainover, and Yellowstar goes in kind of without the support of his team. The team wasn't really up there doing damage. Double lift is so low, and it's just like by the time...
Yeah, it was a very haphazard initiation by Yellowstar.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to steal the Baron as a support, and he's not doing anything as a support with his Unbreakable up unless he has damage backing him up. So TSM arrives to the fight very late, and once again, Immortals is completely organized throughout the entire play. Huni goes straight into Bjergsen, and they are actually deathless this late into the game with some pretty close fights.
I mean, Huni barely living in a... I can respect Hanser wanting to go in and try to clean that up, but at that point, it was like a 1v5, right?
Yeah.
And even though they're low, he's probably not going to be able to pick up the kills, so, you know, him and Bjergsen dying on the end of that fight, had he actually stayed with Bjergsen, they maybe could have picked up Huni and someone could have got out, or at least get 1 kill, but tragic.
Definitely agree. Some slight misplays by TSM, making the clutch calls just slightly wrong, and you can see the damage output there. Huni doing almost the most there. Bjergsen, though, still plenty of damage on this Lulu. We'll see if he can keep scaling up and be the one that carries here, but Immortal certainly in a lot of control, nearly 7,000 gold up with a Baron buff, and they're ready to knock down more turrets without too much issue, I imagine.
Yeah, TSM would have to scale really hard because right now Immortals has what will be multiple waves and lanes of threat. They try to do a death rush, though.
Wow, Wild Turtle still had flash up. He still will die for this one. The snipe coming through. Double gets the kill on that one. And now the re-engage towards Adrian. Karma's certainly going to go down. Looks like even TSM always catches up to her.
Yeah, I mean, that's the old Fnatic brush right there. Yellowstar calls it, they go in that, and they get 2 kills. But there are 2 waves of Baron-empowered minions with 2 marksmen to push through on it. Wild Turtle, oh my god, that damage from Pobelter.
Q-block comes out. I think it still took damage onto his teammate of Bjergsen, but that's still going to be him staying alive. Now the re-engage, and he cannot tank this up. He's going to try to lifesteal, and actually got out of the ulti damage, but still has nowhere to go. Yellowstar, Wada set up his team, steals the kill, unfortunately.
And that is one tanky tree. Maokai is scaling. You can see the Tabby's picked up. He has that Glacial Shroud. Once he gets the Frozen Heart, once he gets that Randuin's, you know, the Thornmail, etc., he's going to be almost unstoppable. But TSM, they need to hold on, and they need to keep fighting back.
Yeah, the 7,000 gold, it's going to be tough. This was a very good initial defense. They get 3 kills back. They lose an inhibitor defending turret, but they still hold their inhibitor. And the bigger Hanser gets, if he can get Frozen Heart and Randuin's, it's going to be a long time until then. But that time when he attempted to run in and 1v4, like, he might actually be able to do that if he can get the crit reduction items as well as the attack speed reduction items on top of 4,000 health and some Lulu shield. Like, that's when you get the Maokai 1v4 real go.
I mean, yeah, just think about the unique passive Hawk's going to have. Crit damage reduction, attack speed reduction, auto attack damage received reduction, and then also when you hit me, you take damage based on my armor, which, by the way, I'm stacking. Like, this is going to be an impossible Maokai to best if he can get to that stage of the game.
Immortals is still playing really fast, though. We knew they were going to try and scale up a little bit, but they got a few item power spikes. They get 1 or 2 kills just off of some disorganization from TSM, and then they immediately went and push that advantage to the Baron, and also now a 6-3 turret lead.
And you could tell they know exactly what their win condition is. Even though some of their guys are getting caught in the bot lane, they're taking top turret, they're taking mid turret, they're constantly pushing the objectives. Any bit of chip damage you get on these turrets is valuable, because if you get any alone time with 380 carries on a turret, it's gone.
Yeah, chances are anyone who's alone is knocking that turret down in about 4 seconds flat. So Immortals gripping up for the top side because there's no turret left there. It's just the inhibitor itself that they can knock down and keep the map control up. They're already on 2 dragons, thanks to their repeated map control here, as TSM hopes to stay afloat. Broom King already done here, and look at that onto the backside. They did find Hanser, but this is a tanky tree. He goes in, and he's going to find the backline access onto Pobelter. Big knock up here from Yellowstar. Blocked as much damage as he can, then Rainover separates the team, and they can just burn down Hanser, but not before Rainover dies himself. It's a 1-for-1 so far. Now another try to Sven Skaren gets his 2nd kill of the fight, and it's now Immortals forced to run away. They lost so much time having to kill off Hanser. The chase can come through. Nice route on the Yellowstar, stops him in his tracks. But Immortals lose 1 kill, have to run away.
Yeah, and I mean, that's... Oh, curtain call coming out. Double lift is quick.
Oh, whoa.
They got slow on Sven, though.
Had to flash get away. They got the root and a double lift as well, but the shield goes
Yellowstar,
in.
the hero play.
Aggression. He flashes out, and they're going to get another 2 for nothing. Long term, that's 4-2 for TSM.
In true support fashion, Yellow Star comes to the rescue, saving his teammate, keeping him alive. Fantastic play.
And because everyone was in on the play, Yellow Star didn't die. So many times this year he's tried to fly in to make a save and it didn't work. This fight though, TSM 7,000 gold behind when they go in on this, but they're looking for a flank engage and they don't actually get it because Haunter's on a ward. So you think it could spell disaster for them, but Haunter follows onto Pobelter. Yellow Star gets a good ultimate, and here you just get to see the difference in frontline. Giant Maokai versus Runic Echo's Gragas. Advantage Maokai right there. Even with the gold differential between these teams, TSM is then able to get the Lulu Graves DPS as well as the Callista and just out-team fight Immortals in a straight frontline to frontline fight.
Yeah, and Immortals think they can pick someone up on the back end here, but in comes Yellow Star, and Yellow Star able to save the day, puts up the passive, and down goes Huni. Adrian gets picked up as well. And let's remember, this is a fight that started with Haunter flashing out, not in. Like, he got caught, and they're able to win this.
Really impressive stuff, and you can see the damage output there. Huni is doing a whole hell of a lot, but Doublift had so much uptime. The front line was so tanky, he just got to run around and land Ren stacks and rip him out, and felt pretty good for TSM overall. And the funny thing is, we need to start tracking more than just 3 people because Sven Skaren is, I think, one of the kill leaders now of TSM on this Graves. Certainly a scary resource here. Yeah, 3, 2, and 4, and him is the kill leader of the team.
Yeah, and we talked about, Distortion Tabbies that has been picked up by Haunter, prioritizing that even over finishing his Frozen Heart, so he really is prioritizing the initiations. He knows he needs the flashes, he needs the TPs to be able to set up these flanks and then get in there on the priority targets. I love it.
Beautiful stuff here. Ever since the Baron Ace, essentially, for Immortals, TSM have gone 7-1 in kills after getting plummeted down like 6K in gold. So huge props to their tenacity to catch back up here. Yes, they've lost turrets. Yes, they're trying to still claw back into this game, but really good team fighting by TSM to stay in this one.
How do you feel about the IE being picked up there by Huni? I was kind of expecting, Ma or something.
Nah. He did the same thing on Graves.
Okay.
It's in really high percentage crit build, and it's definitely more aggressive. Like, you could see an argument for the Maw, but honestly, Huni just wants to kill people, and we're seeing these straight-up team fights that is frontline be frontline. He wants to be able to cut through.
Yeah.
What an odd teleport.
I think he does have to cut through, which means he needs some armor pen next up here. Here comes the first battle. A speed up onto Huni. Gets the cooling down. Yellow Star takes a little bit of damage. Now the curtain call again for the re-engage, but Haunter's taking most of the damage. Now a little bit onto Yellow Star. The final crit comes through. The knock-ins, and Huni does go down. Haunter picked him up. Turns out he maybe needed the durability. And here comes the re-engage. Yellow Star to help out as well. Bjergsen with another kill, and TSM are still running forward. The root in on a Gragas, make that 3 in a row for TSM.
And Haunter ends that fight at full. They can't touch Maokai, especially if your glass cannon top laner gets bursted out at the start of the fight. Sterix Gage could have saved him, Mortis could have saved him, but it didn't, and that team fight is a disaster for Immortals, and this Baron may pull TSM ahead in the game.
Immortals just looked too overconfident there. They're chunking someone out. They're like, oh, TSM's on the run. Let's chase him. And Haunter says, nope. They get a little bit too far forward. He's able to get in on them and absolutely disrupts their backlines. Their battle lines completely crumble. Haunter's untouched. And what do you do about this guy?
Well, this was the question. Reignover needed to have clean initiations for Immortals to be able to team fight. It's because if he doesn't either peel or get a squishy into your team for the AD carries to kill at the start, it's not going to work. They blow the package. They get nothing. Then they teleport in, and they're still in position to be engaged on. Haunter teleport flanks. He doesn't engage. So either team could walk away here, and Immortals wanted to go in, I think, because they had good poke. But Reignover still has to get the right initiation, and need to see exactly what happens here. Just where does his ultimate go? It knocks a few people back, but it doesn't help them because they did not peel the tank away.
Yeah, Pobelter and Huni got too close to Haunter on the top side. They were trying to get in there, get the kills, and he's going to make them pay. TSM come up huge in this fight, and I have to think Immortals' time in this game may be running out as he scales up.
Yeah, starting the game, 7 kills to 0, 6 turrets to 3. It felt like it was going to be another one of those Immortals games where they get that small advantage and just win the game 5 minutes later, but that has not been the case. TSM is fighting back. They're showing their team fighting composition. I mean, this is kind of the reason you don't see people run triple marksman or an AD carry top lane, because the tank difference in these fights is just shining through so heavily here.
It's definitely really massive. We're going to see the continued pushing here in for TSM on the bot side this time around as they rotate the team. Still only 3 turrets right now for the squad, that they've only knocked down the outers so far, but here at the beginning of the tier 2 is going to happen here. The 2 solo laners of TSM going to knock this one down. Brings the gold back to close. Now only a 200 gold difference. Now back in towards mid tier 2, but the root comes in on Sven Skaren. But Gragas is not in a position to actually pull him back into the team. That could have been a chance at a one-shot on that Graves. Though put some damage down. 3/4 health on mid lane tier 2. You can see SoloMid wearing the Baron buff, kind of choosing only to play 5-on-5 for anything that looks close to that.
Exactly. They were winning 5v5s down 7,000 gold. Now that they're even gold with the Baron buff, they're going to look even more towards that. Doublelift has gone with the heavy lifesteal build on top of the Lulu, which I think is the right choice here. And yeah, they're just going to try and siege up. They can't get too aggressive because a big Gragas ultimate, specifically while Yellow Star's Braum shield is down, so it can actually reach his targets, is what Immortals is going to be looking for.
Yeah, TSM doesn't want to take too much poke, and they don't want to start, a disadvantageous fight like that. They need to keep playing to their rank conditions, waiting till Immortals is out in the open field, and getting these initiations from Monster. That's how they're going to crush the fights.
Keep in mind, the only armor item on the entire Immortals lineup is an Iceborne Gauntlet of Rainover. No one else has any durability tools for Svenskeren and Doublelift. Those two can keep crushing fights. You can see them push in towards mid lane 2. They're going to get that one pretty easily. Rainover already at half HP, by the way, just from cursory poke. Current Call comes in towards Svenskeren. One more hit would kill him up, and he dodges it to the right. Gets a Lulu ulti and shield as well to stay alive. I think he would have survived regardless, but even still, the Immortals lose mid tier 2. They at least push TSM back, but you can see how much SoloMid have gotten off of that Baron buff.
Yeah, and I mean, Yellow Star even picking up the Warden's Mail. He may be working to Frozen Heart or Randuin's of his own, which I think is a fantastic pickup. Just get even more frontline disruption. Allows him to go in more, soak more damage. As long as his carries are not taking the damage, he's doing his job.
Yeah, they're probably going for double Frozen Heart just so they can space the whole fight with the aura range.
It certainly is.
Sometimes doesn't cover in a spread out fight. I think that or Randuin's would have been great. Also pay attention to Yellow Star's Unbreakable usage in these fights. A lot of times you can stuff a Gragas ultimate with it because the ult won't pass through it and will actually just knock people
explode
backwards
on his face.
And instead of Yellow Star trying to reactively stop the body slam, because Rainover could technically body slam flash and then ult immediately before Yellow Star can react.
Right.
Yellow Star's just putting up the shield every time Rainover's walking towards him as TSM is engaging or disengaging. So it's making it really difficult for Rainover to get the proper ultimate in a team fight.
Yeah, definitely agree. Good play by Yellow Star, be proactive about it.
I also really like Doublelift's build this game, going much more of a kind of defensive route. He has double lifesteal. He's working towards the Sterix gauge. He knows he doesn't need, maximum DPS. You mentioned it, Jad. There's almost no armor built up on this team, and he doesn't need to build, very greedy optimal DPS. He just needs to stay alive, keep putting out pressure, and his team will win the fights.
Yeah. So one of the things I really like about the sort of preseason AD carry item choices is there's enough good options. It's actually now about understanding the situation of the game and the sort of situation you're talking about. Enough damage to matter, and then make sure you don't die, because that's how you would not get damage out. And it's, as you guys were all saying, the right choice here. A healthier build for Doublelift. He's going to keep doing plenty here in battle. TSM with the kill lead, with the goal lead as well. And they're pushing right back in for mid lane. Tier 2's already dead, but the inhib turret could be up there. Looney dodges Winter's Bite, but not the Glitter Lance. But he's going to heal back up, no big deal.
One kind of a moment of hope here for Immortals, though, is going to be as they start picking up, their completed Last Whisper items. So we do have the mini Last Whispers on Huni and Wild Turtle. As they get their Lord Dominics or their, whatever they choose.
I think we'll see one Mortal Reminder.
Yeah, maybe Moral Reminder. That's going to be something that does make a really big difference against all this armor. So that will be kind of their hope.
Yeah, and we also have to keep in mind that they have 3 dragons, with the next dragon coming up in 52 seconds. So a dragon force would be their win condition if they can get TSM funneling in the wrong way towards a team fight. If I did have a quick criticism to the TSM item builds, though, it's the fact that no one seems to be going towards Randuin's, and it looks like Haunter might be going towards
Thornmail.
Yeah, Thornmail or
I think it's a random
else with the, yeah.
It's possible it's Deadman's, but I would be surprised by
Oh,
Deadman's.
it could be Deadman's.
It should be Randuin's Thornmail.
Yeah, there are 3 Infinity Edge users on Immortals, and Randuin's has been buffed from patch to patch to actually be really efficient item, even if you're against 1 or 2 crit users.
Yeah.
But Randuin's
is godly.
Would have been the perfect item.
Yeah.
It could just be one of those things where he had 800 gold, he didn't want to wait for the Warden's Mail. He wants to get out there, have as much power as he can, which I can respect. But I do think that as far as combat efficiency, the Deadman's is going to be way lower than Randuin's if he does go that way.
Unless you really think you're unkillable and all you want is to reach a target.
Yeah.
If he's already unkillable, then it doesn't matter when he gets it anymore, and he can get the utility.
Then you want Thornmail for more damage.
That's
those
true.
Righteous Glories.
Oh, the Righteous
When
Glory.
have we seen that item?
Oh, man. Yeah, absolutely. Yellow Star, get out on that one.
What about a Death Cap?
How about a Death Cap? How about a full stack Magi's on Echo? Here we go. Good pick up on the Dragon. Well smited. Rainover can teleport that one.
Hauntzer is behind them.
Here comes the team fight. He gets the root in and does get in towards Huni. Big knock comes through. This could be the game-winning team fight for either team. Hauntzer taking plenty of damage, separated from the squad, and Doublelift has picked up Wild Turtle. Hauntzer is still not dead. Pavelter having to flash away. Another root comes in, this time on Adrian, and they will be getting that kill picked up. Another one for Svenskeren. He is literally and figuratively unstoppable here, as Raynor was going to be next up on the plate. The Q's going to land. Yellowstar will not get the kill on his former teammate, but it still does mean that TSM won that fight cleanly.
And pings go down immediately onto Baron with 2 people down and the teleport down from Huni. Huni's teleport in that fight was disaster. It was in the middle of the TSM team, and immediately Hauntzer was able to twist and advance him off the backside. Also, Bjergsen is just funneling shields onto Hauntzer in these team fights, not needing it for the 80 carries because Immortals' damage can't get through to TSM's backline because they can't get through Hauntzer, so it's making the shields even more efficient. If Immortals wants to win a fight, they actually have to flank, which is still very difficult.
I think Immortals is going to have to try something here. They don't feel like they can give this up.
Too late.
Too late.
And I mean, I've got to say, like you said, funneling all the shields into Hauntzer was brilliant. TSM was actually pretty split in that. Their carries were on the top side, and we saw Bjergsen and the Maokai basically able to just like 2v4 on the bot side.
Yeah, because both top laners end up teleporting into this fight. Hauntzer starts his first, and I think Huni waits for his recall to complete, so he's home guarding. But look where Huni's teleporting. It's right in front of TSM. So he immediately has to dash flash away. Meanwhile, he's already got a Maokai stuck on him, and this means TSM's damage all goes for Wild Turtle. You think 3 just for an 80 carry isn't enough, but then you track how no one can actually kill a Lulu shielded 280 armor Maokai. And it just makes the fight easy for him.
Yeah. Pavelter actually tried to Valkyrie Forge, I think, to reach the Lulu, and happened to run into a Maokai Q smash. So he actually wanted to assassinate Bjergsen, couldn't quite do it. Pretty unlucky by him, but I think it still wouldn't have been a team fight win for Immortals because it was already kind of over. Wild Turtle gotten separated, picked off by Doublelift in the other side of the 3v1. That's pretty quick on that one.
Yeah, and I mean, just more and more completed items coming in here for TSM. Frozen Heart done for Yellowstar. Doublelift has Hysterics. We see 4 items, including the Death Cap for Bjergsen. You know, we have 4 items here on Svenskeren as well. They're all just picking up all their major items.
This is huge. Lord Dominic's is done for Huni, so maybe he can be the hard carry in the next team fight here. The 50% crit build of an IH.
Yeah.
Could try to break through.
His positioning in team fights has been very poor.
Yes.
If he can position properly and not get a Maokai stuck on him really in the fight, maybe with the multiple last whispers and penetration items they have now, maybe they could still cut through a Maokai, because damage items multiply very well as you're getting to the 5 and 6 item builds.
This is the thing, though. Like you said, he has to position basically perfectly, right? Immortals has a much harder comp to execute.
Yes.
TSM, you send in the Maokai, you shield him up, your backline stands behind the big tree, and then you kill some people, you collect your points, right?
Yeah, stay in the shade.
But I mean, for Immortals, they're all kind of like off on their own. They don't have that beefy front line to keep them all safe. They all are in these little kind of skirmishes. They all have to position individually very well.
Yeah, definitely agree. It's Hauntzer gets to have single purpose, and it works really well for him there. We'll see if Immortals can try to bring it back at the 3,000 gold deficit now for them, as TSM have been in control for the last 15 minutes straight here.
Yeah, and regardless of the results of this game, we're going to have to question the picks and bans throughout the rest of the series, because this is what we've heard Immortals have been practicing. This is kind of their new thing they're bringing to the playoffs, is these marksman top lane. Will they switch it up, and seeing how the Lulu and the Maokai is stuffing it so hard, will they isolate it towards, you know what, it's just because they were able to get Lulu, which overpowered the tank and made it so we can't cut through her. Because traditionally, a lot of the double marksman teams we had seen in the past do get beaten by Lulu plus 1 less marksman, because the empowered either tank or marksman just makes them better than the 2 guys that don't have assistance.
Definitely agree. Meanwhile, though, a root on a Svenskeren gets a locket shield in for Yellowstar, but now is a pretty injured Graves. Maybe the re-engage comes in, but TSM, of course, pretty injured off the first side of this fight. Pavelter clears the wave away.
Yeah, and one weakness in Svenskaren's build is that he didn't manage to fit any lifesteal in. He didn't pick up a Death's Dance or anything. So when he does get poked out, he's kind of, you know, the one guy that you can just chunk out, and he kind of has to go back to base.
Unless Maw gets popped specifically. That's like a very conditional if statement for getting sustained back up, but it's not the most consistent. Actually going for a Last Whisper build last.
Yeah. And it's worth mentioning, we did see Thornmail actually picked up by Hauntzer, so he's going to be going Thornmail plus the Randuin, so he just kind of went in a roundabout way because he did want to just pick up
items. Components.
Exactly. He had the gold, he wanted to buy the Chain Vest, and then he had the gold, he wanted the Ruby Crystal, right? So he just gets the pieces, but he does go towards that kind of ultimate efficient build, and when he finishes the Randuins, at this point, you're actually just killing yourself hitting the Maokai.
Yeah, yeah. No one's going to have a good time. You need 2 lifesteal items or Warlord's Bloodlust plus a lifesteal item, and a for sure like Lord Dominic's or Mortal Reminder. I'm actually kind of sad to see that they both went Lord Dominic's. considering you have 3 marksmen, they're all going to do roughly equal amounts of damage. Cutting the Maokai self-healing is actually a very big deal. He'll get a lot in team fights.
I was going to say I wanted one of both, and there's not enough lifesteal to cut through a Hansa right now.
I don't think so.
Becoming more and more grim. I feel
Adrian can help.
If TSM group, like, this is also going to be a pretty long game because of the triple AD carry from Immortals. Pushing into their base is still going to be rather difficult unless they catch a team fight outside of it. And TSM's only at 2 dragons, so Immortals won't get sucked into the dragon game. Maybe with the Baron, TSM will dive in, but even that is going to be a little bit touchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, though, I definitely do think it's possible for TSM to look for dives. I mean, you know, the Maokai basically will not care about turrets very much with this much armor. So, you know, definitely something that they can look for, and they're still going to be looking for the flanks.
Or we get a base race. Triple AD carries will win the base race.
They're going for it, and they're there first. Immortals are going to get the inhib at the very least. Only Maokai's in the base right now. TSM are choosing to run to go backwards. Immortals are staying forwards, and now they realize TSM are coming and they're running away. But TSM can catch up.
Trapped behind a tree in a hard place.
This is the fight. Either one wins this fight, they win the game. Immortals still running to the left. TSM aren't far behind, but Maokai's far.
They have the Yellow Star to speed them up. They keep speeding up their AD carry or Yellow Star, and I think they're going to be able to get in here, but aren't with this game.
It's the long game. There's a pink ward in the jungle.
The last shot missed by Rainover.
Nearly a game-winning play, knockback on a doublet, but now it's still
There's
damage
no
to Rainover.
in this fight.
Yellowstar went in, he looks for the body slam, and it's going to be 1 kill picked up. Curtain call to pick somebody up, but where's Maokai engaged? Here's Hanser, it's a 5v4, TSM are chasing, they're looking for more. Hootie can't get the damage out, and it's going to be another kill picked up. Svenskeren gets 2 more, and it's only a 1 man left alive. Hootie could not win this by himself. TSM TP in the mid lane, they're going for the win.
This has got to be game. TSM absolutely mops up the fight. Yellow Star goes deep. He's able to actually stay alive, starts the fight. When Hanser came in from the backside, it was all over, and it's looking all over for Immortals in game number 1.
Yeah, I can't fault the Immortals for the call to go for the inhibitor because the collapse from TSM definitely left some windows, but when Rainover misses the body slam flash, it's over. It gave time for TSM to come in from the backside, and they come from behind. This game was 7 kills to 0. They go on to get 17 of the next 18 kills and take game 1.
Insult to injury. Hootie gonna die in the well. And TSM makes a statement. They are not going quietly out.
Wow, and talk about showing up finally in the playoffs. You talk about playoff buffs. I'm going to give the crown to Yellow Star here, who has been honestly pretty miserable all season long. And in this game against Immortals, his toughest match, most important match of the year, 100% kill participation, only 1 death, shot calling the team back to victories, at least a moderate part of that one. And just an impressive comeback win by TSM.
And I mean, only 1 death, but it's not like he's playing Janna. He's playing wrong. He's getting in there. He's flashing for the engages. He was, you know, blocking all the key Gragas ultimates. He was putting himself in the right place at the right time, throwing himself in front of his teammates to save them multiple times throughout the game, and still managing to play on the knife's edge and stay alive.
Absolutely, and we look about the execution complexity of these team compositions. Like, Immortals picked a really hard composition to play, and it looked like it was going to work, but then they made the mistakes as they were closing out the game. And once that happened, TSM's play just seemed to flip a switch. It became so clean. They were making the mistakes early, but then after that, they had the right flank initiations. Doublelift and Bjergsen's positioning in teamfights was really strong to stay behind Hanser in all of those games. And yeah, it is a surprising victory because obviously it's the #1 seed, 17-1, as well as because it was from 7 kills to 0. It's early in the game.
And I want to bring up one thing. You guys talk about champ select points and the -1 AD carry. I do think that the Immortals lineup is actually more of an early game composition. Right? It's
like an early to mid game power spike.
It's the marksman who's spike on their first item. It's caster focused AD carries, meaning they are good at 17 minutes. That early lead was because of the types of champions, the item builds they went for. And then eventually Maokai just doesn't die, and that falls off hard. That is what happened here. TSM getting those 3 kills after the Baron, I think, was the hugest part.
Yeah, and we actually have the final fight one more time, which we're going to take another look at, which will be fun to see because it was showing how strong and confident TSM was. Look at the pink ward in the blue buff of Immortals. That's going to be what Hanser teleports in on. And if Rainover can land that flash body slam onto Bjergsen, maybe they have a chance in this fight, but instead they get a face full of Braum who uses ultimate to delay the fight for Maokai to arrive.
Yeah, I was actually pretty scared for TSM after that initiation because Maokai's just now arriving. I was like, Yellow Star, he's going in too early. But they had it timed out. They were able to stay alive with the Lulu. And once Haunter is in the backlines, it's just absolute chaos. No one knows what to do. Who do you attack? Do you try to go for the carries? Do you ignore the Maokai? Do you run from him? What do you do? It's just...
Yeah. Wild Turtle can't hit him. He will die to Thornmail.
Yep.
Huni could maybe hit him, but he only has a Death Dance as his lifesteal item. Like, once he had the, let's check his endgame armor, 380 armor at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And then you don't have the lifesteal stacking on the other side to counter it. So, really, team fighting reigns supreme for TSM.
Yep. Went really well for them. So props to TSM for the game one win. Not many would have predicted it, but they got it. And so now, to break down that TSM win, let's check in with the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Lots to talk about there. First and foremost, Loco has converted to a TSM fan. No, TSM gonna be very, very happy with that. And as we mentioned, Doublelift, they got their first win. They got the win that they needed. Maybe Immortals will be on tilt. Let's start from the beginning. Champion Select here, because we saw immensely different priority in Champion Select in this series compared to yesterday's series. You know, particularly the Corki coming out first pick, and then Echo nowhere to be seen.
So I think Echo is a really, really strong pick in the meta, but if you're going to play Echo, your jungler needs to have a lot of CC. And for TSM side, it seems like they like to carry junglers on spin. He had really good Kindred performances versus C9, or actually not versus C9, my bad. He had Kindred performances during the regular season, and his Graves looked pretty good today. So it seems like they like carry junglers, so it's hard to play carry jungle and Echo. And for Immortals, it seems like they like Lucian over Echo. So yeah, like Echo's nowhere to be found.
Right. Did you ever think you'd say that a team liked Lucian in the top lane as their priority, Zyrene?
Didn't think I would.
No, you didn't.
I've seen crazier things. I mean, Karma's now a mid laner, and people are playing her again, so it just kind of shot up there. But I want to talk about the draft a little bit more because I think TSM saw this coming. They picked Braum very early on. They picked the Maokai. They picked Maokai over the Echo because, one, you have that point-and-click CC. It's very disruptive. And also, it's a Frozen Heart builder, very smooth path, whereas Echo, you really want to get the Iceborne Gauntlet for the damage output. So I thought that this was a pick that was really just going to round this composition out and really counter what Immortals were coming into the game with. It's an early spike team. You take towers. We saw them get a 7K gold lead on Immortals' side, but then it was that fight in the top lane where they just ruined their own lead because of the fact they tried to dive Haunter. They got a little over aggressive, and I think at that point maybe even just buy an Executioner's Calling early on to deal with Haunter. And we didn't even see one come out the entire game.
Yeah, we heard the casters talking about it, the fact that both 2 of the 3 AD carries went for Lord Dominic's as opposed to a Mortal Reminder, so there was no opportunity to nerf the healing from the Maokai. But given the fact that Immortals locked in this triple ADC composition, let's talk about some of the merits of the composition and how it should be played and how it comes away with a victory. Because clearly, if you're going to pull it out in game 1 of a series, you're confident in that strategy.
So AD carries are really strong laners, so something like Corki is going to have a lot of priority mid, and even Lucian, he's going to have a lot of priority top. And you get gold leads by taking turrets early, and you either win with that, or if you go late enough into the game, like we saw, you don't have a great comp because you're missing a tank, you're missing a lot of utility, you're also missing teleport from your mid laner usually, so you lose out to the more standard comps of tank in the top, mid bringing a lot of utility.
TSM on your screens now going to be happy after the game, but they dealt with that triple ADC comp. They were down about 8K gold at 25 minutes, and yet were able to stretch it just far enough, Zyrene, that they could come back from that gold deficit and run their tank line into the triple ADC composition.
Yeah, I think they had a great draft. I think they were able to keep their heads cool. They lost an inhibitor turret, but they were able to get that engage that they wanted, and they knew that it came down to that, right? 7K gold, that early on in the game is usually something that you think is insurmountable, but because of the differences in composition, it was basically stack armor, deal with these carries, you're able to focus them out. The Lucian build is not going to be doing that much damage. It's focused on if you get attacked, and he didn't even get the solo lane against Maokai. It was the lane swap, so it did definitely put Huni behind, and he didn't have the type of impact that they were hoping that he would have on that Lucian.
Yeah, speaking of damage, the statistics, the end game statistics around total damage dealt kind of showcase that point. We see here Huni only having 19.7k. Hanser, who's not shown, had almost 19k himself. So the fact that your top ADC Lucian is doing only as much damage as a tank Maokai and doesn't have the same utility and ability to absorb and start damage and start fights is super relevant.
And that's a big point too, because when you have triple AD carries by nature, unless they're Ashe and a little bit Jhin, don't have utility built into their kits, something that can peel, something that allows you to change the landscape of a fight in your favor and kite. So they really relied on Reignover and Adrian's utility, but when you're relying on those two people who basically have 2 or 3 utility between their 4 abilities, then, well, they have to land those abilities perfectly. They have to use them at the right time. The barrel has to be perfect. And Yellowstar's Braum was on point, blocking damage, blocking barrels, making sure that they weren't able to use the utility appropriately.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to play team fights when there's only few skills you have to be careful of. So they have 3 damage dealers.
Yeah.
Okay, so just don't get hit by Gragas, don't get CC'd, and we're going to win because they can't kill our tank.
Yeah, let's jump into one of those replays. One of the big fights that turned things around for TSM about 30 minutes into the game. A 3-0 plus Baron on the back end. Loco, walk me through this and help me understand exactly that point you were just making.
So once Hanser is in the front and they have to try to melt Hanser, TSM's going to be able to win almost any kind of fight. They just don't have the damage to melt Hanser. And then now Huni dashes in and Hanser goes in. And here, even with all the defensive tools Huni has, by buying Death Dance and Phantom Dancer, it's not as effective if you're not being able to auto because you're just getting CC'd to death, and that's what's happening. So TSM has an actual front line in Hanser, and IMT really doesn't, because if Reignover's just in the front getting hit, he can't engage, he's just like a dumb tank. Like when you have dumb tanks that are just getting hit and getting killed, like you're gonna lose the team fight.
Yeah, and it looked like IMT were trying to pick that fight very heavily. We saw Huni try to dash in at the top, and then he dashed in on the left side too. And Wild Turtle had actually used Curtain Call for the pick potential there to slow people down. But you never want to stack your AD carries right on top of each other. That goes with double AD carry and triple AD carry. You never want to do that.
You want to fan out and like a nice fan so all of them can help each other, and even if they go on one person, your other 2 ADs are safe.
Yeah, it's a little strange too, because then the mantra E from Karma, you don't get everybody in it if they're fanned out. So it's like you have to be just close enough for that, but just far away enough that you aren't screwing your own partner.
A fantastic comeback win for TSM to start off the series. When we come back, we'll see if Immortals will tie up the series or TSM will extend their lead. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I Hear Myself by Kendrick Lamar. Don't know that song. I hear myself. You don't know that's not how the song goes. Is that how it says? I hear myself. Is that what he says? No, it's not.
On towards Potter will not take the damage. And Reignover!
Oh my god, he got right in front of him.
I got Kalisa. Nice. There's only Maokai. Slowly. Maokai. Kill Maokai first. I've got Lulu. Nice fight. Nice. Lucian. Gragas. We win this. We might win this.
He's hexed. Bjergsen with another kill, and TSM are still running